Well, in 1990, Star Trek went boldly where no political commentator had gone before, airing an episode or writing an episode predicting that Ireland and Northern Ireland would reunify in 2024.
Yet there are numerous examples when it was successful. The independence of the Mexican state from Spain, the Irish unification of 2024, and the Kenzie Rebellion.
Yes, I'm aware of them.
Well, with polling in Ireland pointing to rising support for unification, it's got some people asking whether Star Trek could join The Simpsons in accurately predicting the future. Let's ask the person who wrote that episode, sci-fi author Melinda Snodgrass, who joins us now from Santa Fe in New Mexico. Good morning and welcome to News Breakfast.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, the fact that we are now in 2024 and there is even discussion going on about reunification has made people trawl back over all this material and discover this Star Trek episode that you were responsible for. Why did you write it at the time? What was going through your head?
Well, Star Trek has always been political. It has asked difficult questions over the years, and I wanted to write something that explored these issues of terrorism and its effects on countries and people, because one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, and how do you bridge that gap? Also, I had been an attorney before I became a writer, and so I've always been interested in economics and politics. And it just seemed like the perfect setting for that. And I didn't want to create only made up events. I wanted to refer to things that people could think of in the real world, in our world, rather than just say, oh, there was this alien rebellion and so on and so on. Because to me, the value of science fiction has always been its power to discuss difficult issues, but at arm's length, so that people don't feel as threatened. Because when you get in someone's face and say, well, you can't feel that way, or you can't believe that way, or we have to discuss these issues of racism or terrorism, science fiction gives you a bit of a buffer and a place to have that conversation and approach it a little bit more gently, if you will, and give people a chance to think about it without feeling like they're being attacked.
When in 1990, 2024 must have seemed a long way in the future, but the reaction at the time was pretty fierce. Were you surprised by it? I mean, it wasn't even shown in some areas in the UK.
I was startled to hear this because I think as a speculative writer of science fiction, I always think that we need to be brave enough to discuss things and always put them out there. So I was very surprised when my bosses came and told me that the episode was not going to be shown in certain areas. And I was like, but we were just talking, can't we keep talking? That would be good. And yes, I did feel like, 2024, perhaps I should have made it 2224 rather than this. But one thing about science fiction, we're not very good predictors of the future. There's only been a handful of writers who do it well. And so I'm sort of surprised and a bit honored that I fall into that category now that I've actually done something that was predictive. Most of them are people like Arthur C. Clarke or Jack Williamson, who could actually see what was coming in the future. But most of us, we talk about current issues and we try to analyze them in a place that's safer, I think.
Yeah, well, have you made any other predictions that we need to know about right now and prepare for? I'm not going to go online and then end up being embarrassed when I'm wrong. So I'll rest on my laurels with this one. How about that? Yeah, actually, we've been asking our audience this morning about what movies or TV series, maybe not even the sci-fi, but what then has come true and who predicted what. And we've sort of been chatting about The Simpsons, or for me, it was as a kid watching The Jetsons thinking that's never going to happen, flying people. But you know what? It's there. So it is pretty amazing to think that you were part of that.
Yes, I've been very fortunate to get to work with wonderful people and tell the stories that I hope elucidate the human condition and the human heart in conflict with itself so that we can think more about these issues.
We will watch very closely to see developments in Ireland. Melinda, thank you very much for coming on and having a chat to us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.